Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Tuesday evening edition of the Atheist Reformation, where we are doing a delayed beer stream. But hey, life happens sometimes, and so we take care of things and just move on. I'm here, as always, with my good friend and I guess staunch rival as far as a Roman Catholic goes versus an atheist, William Albrecht of Patristic Pillars. If you want to check him out, check out www.patristicpillars.com. And if you don't know how to spell patristic, it's Patristic. There's not a link down in the description below just yet, but there will be once this reposts after the live stream is over. And I have a chance to, copy and paste my description from the last stream. It seems to be the most effective at this point. So today, as always, we're going to start things off with a beer, and then we're going to move on to a discussion about religious fundamentalism and whether or not it actually stifles human progress. I quite vehemently say yes, it absolutely does, and I think at least in some regards, on most levels, William's going to agree with me.
Definitely.
All right, William, so what are you drinking tonight?
I am not going to show all my cards yet. I'm going to show one card.
Oh, yeah, we'll do it one at a time, as always.
I'm going to start off with a Schlenkerla.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that looks awesome. Oh, double bock. That's awesome.
It is an oak smoked Doppelbock from Bamberg, Germany.
Bamberg. That's a town name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, and I go there. I do go there and visit quite often. It is you go to Bamberg. The funny thing about Bamberg is that Bamberg are very, very well known for their smoked beers. They're
right.
Almost the most popular for their smoked beer. So you can kind of see if I can kind of.
Good. Don't pour it out.
I don't want to pour it out.
Yeah. Those double bocks, man, they always come.
They're dark.
Nice dark brown.
Oh yeah.
Bock beer.
A little bit. Just spilled a little bit, but not a whole lot. Okay, there you go.
Good.
I cleaned it up already.
Also, little fun fact for people at home: Bock beers, actual Bock beers. Sorry, I live in Texas. I'm sorry for hating on Shiner for this, but that's not actually a Bock beer. That's just a name. I'm sorry.
You're right.
I used to love Shiner. The Oktoberfest is not a bad beer. And
not at all.
And before I go any further on this one, I am going to say one thing. I'm not crapping on Shiner intentionally. I'm not even really crapping on them. Just saying it's not actually a Bock. For any beer snobs out there that are actually interested. But I'm going to pull a line and tailor it to beer from the Whiskey Tribe and Whiskey Vault, which is headed up by Rex Williams, I think his last name is, and Daniel Whittington. They're both based out of Texas, too. And the best beer is beer you like to drink the way you like to drink it. So if your taste is just sitting there, throwing back Natty Light like it's going out of style and Florida Man sitting through a hurricane, Go for it, man. You do you. Not gonna see any complaint from me.
The comment you made right now is right on point, and I don't tell a whole lot of people that because a whole lot of people don't know the difference in what a real Bach is and what a real Bach isn't. But what a great point you made. There's something else I'm going to tell you that's going to shock you.
Go for it.
I have a very close friend that worked there at their brewery for many years, and to their beer, they add something which is akin to food coloring to give it its color.
Right. I think
It
it's
is not a Bach at all.
right. I think they use the same thing that distilleries are allowed to use for a whiskey or neutral grain spirit colorant, and that's like E150B or something like that.
I don't know
It's
what
a
it is,
caramel
but it's
colorant. I know
disappointing.
that's used in whiskey. I'm not sure if it's the same thing for beer, but since whiskey is pretty much beer with extra steps,
There you go.
or really just displaced steps, because everything starts out essentially the same. You both
Oh,
end
yeah.
up going through a mash, boiling it, and creating a wort out of it. It's
Correct.
just that beer doesn't take as much time to complete, whereas whiskey, obviously, it takes a little bit of tender love and care and also time.
Definitely.
But to start off the evening for me,
Yeah, what have you got?
since I love the color green, I've got a trio of St. Arnold's here, but I won't go all the way through and tell everybody just yet. The first I'm going to start off is something just called the Fancy Lawnmower.
Oh, I love
This
that
is
beer.
this is St. Arnold's brewery's answer to a Kolsch. So I'm kind of looking forward to that one. And I upgraded from a can opener to a paint can.
Today I brought my trusty from
Eyinger.
Germany.
There you go.
This is from Eyinger, Germany. It's in the shape of a beer bottle. Anybody that wants to visit Germany, if they go to this brewery, they will give you these for free.
Oh wow.
That looks very good.
Oh yeah, and Kolsch, they're generally not super sudsy anyways. See if I can actually... Oh yeah, pop the top back on. Post.
Prost. Where are my manners? I apologize. I began before you.
No worries. I was thirsty.
I can tell you were. How's that taste?
What's that?
How does that taste?
Oh, it tastes amazing. Contrary to what the label would suggest, it does not taste like lawn clippings.
And I tell you one thing.
It's quite hoppy. It's not super high as far as bitterness goes, but you know, it smells really good. It actually smells almost akin to a Pilsner, but there again, Kolsch and Pilsner aren't really that far apart in how they're made.
Right.
And what all goes into them.
St. Arnold blows shine their way.
Oh, they really do. And they're based out of Houston, too.
I know.
Which is going to be awesome, because once I get down to that area
Oh.
for law school and stuff like that, I'm going to be close by.
We've got to do a brewery tour together.
Oh, absolutely. I would be absolutely down for that.
That would be incredible.
See, I'm also kind of, torn between wanting to also kind of, if I ever have a little extra money laying around, going ahead and getting my certification as a Cicerone, because I think that'd be cool.
It is not hard.
That would at least make me sound at least a bit more competent about beer. I mean,
Yeah.
I know the basics. I know how it's made. I know the difference between a mash tun and a fermenter, at least. And I'm trying to see if I can find the ABV on here, because Kolsch's are not high. Yep, here we go, 4.9%. Yeah.
Well,
So
I was
they're
going
not
to get
super high.
5.4. I was going to say, but that's still pretty high. It's pretty good.
Oh yeah. I mean, it falls just short of the standard 5% of most pilsners. But what most people don't understand, especially with beers, is that there is a bit of diminishing returns when it comes to beers and how much ABV you can get out of it versus the overall flavor and complexity you're going to get from it.
No doubt.
For me personally, my favorite sweet spot is somewhere in the range of 6.2 to 8.5%. To me,
There you go.
that's where I personally get the most complexity out of a beer. The greatest interest is what I derive from that.
Yeah.
Pardon me. But overall, not bad. It's a solid offering, and hey, it's from Texas and it's German. You can't really go wrong with that in my eyes.
There's no way you can go wrong. There's no way. I'm with you there. Wow, you were thirsty.
Oh yeah, I was. And these something like this would be dangerous at a garden party or a
Oh
backyard
yeah.
barbecue, because it's almost too easy to throw back. It's
Oh yeah.
almost. I mean, it's got a decent little kind of bready smell and a little bit of a bready aftertaste, which I kind of like. Um, but it's not heavy. It's not thick or dense, like you would get from a true Bach or a Doppelbock.
Right.
Oh, also, hey, another fun fact: Bachs, if I remember correctly, are what were referred to as liquid bread.
You're
They were
correct.
common and originated with German monks, if
Mom,
I remember right, as a
you're
way
right.
to kind of get some kind of sustenance, get some caloric intake during, I think it was Lent,
You're right.
and
And,
any
and
other fasting period they would go through.
you're right. The original brewery to have done that was the Paulaner one.
Yes,
They are the
Paulaner.
original ones to do that, and they still have. If you go to Germany, if you go to Munich, where you'll find that brewery, if you walk in there, on the wall they have the ancient. Even though it is very, very, very old and
Hmm.
not complete because it's so old, they have an ancient piece of the recipe on the wall there, which is just incredible to walk in there and get a gander at something so
Oh yeah.
darn old.
Oh yeah, it's really cool stuff. Potsdam is another great place to go, from what I've been told. They've got at least 1,000-year-old castle still standing out there, or at least not in its entirety, obviously, but
Right.
not doing too bad. And
Yeah,
yes,
a
Anthony
lot of them have
Ford, we are
been.
doing another beer and theology chat. Thanks for chiming in. Feel free to throw out some questions. We're going to be talking about religious fundamentalism today. So get out your tinfoil hat, start thumping that Bible till there's a dent in the cover, and let's get going.
Definitely.
All right, so I guess let's go ahead and kick things off. Let's talk about religious fundamentalism. Um, hmm. It's at times like this where I wish I had something like what Good Mythical Morning has, that wheel of mythicality, and just have like random fundamentalist religions on the different little pie slices, and just spin it
Right.
and see what we come up with, and start with that. All right, so I guess you know what? We'll start with Jehovah's Witnesses. Why not?
Let's.
So I'll let you go ahead and lead off on that one, because we already know
Def-
that my stance on it is that I am firmly in the camp that all fundamentalism is bad. It's not good for humanity. It's not good for human progress. It either stifles science, stifles society, or somehow, in some way or other, will infringe upon someone else's rights.
How about we also tell me what you think about this? How about we also toss in the fact that a lot of these groups destroy lives.
They do, from within and without.
Yeah, especially the JWs, the Jehovah's Witnesses. For people that don't know, when we talk about the JWs, we're talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses. They've got a practice in place which essentially says, if I'm married to my wife and I defect from their faith and I become Catholic or a non-believer, even if I say, you know what, I'm not sure about whether I believe in God or not, but I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness, they will order you,
Oh
the
yeah, to be
clergy, the
shunned.
hierarchy, to shun your significant other.
Oh yeah, they'll shun you. They'll
Psychotic.
tell your spouse to shun you. They'll I mean, like, it's essentially their way of attempting to shame you back into the faith. And overall, it's a terrible, terrible thing. Like they would rate pretty high on the bite model for that one. And actually, I think I have a copy of the bite model. I will be right back.
Yeah. Let me touch upon what Anthony is talking about as you step out there. He says they knock on his door real loud, way too loud. And I'm going to tell you why they do that. They are indoctrinated, they are taught, and they are told that they must witness to as many people as they can. They must reach out and try to convert as many people as they can. And they're told, and I know this because I've met many of them, I've debated with some of their top atheists. They are told that whenever they run into somebody that maybe knows a little bit too much, they're told to avoid them. So if I get a knock on my door, I knock, and I open the door, and there's a JW there, and the JW finds out that I know a little bit more than the average person, they are ordered to not engage. They're ordered to move on, look for somebody else to convert, because they're wasting time in somebody like myself.
Oh yeah.
Whereas, as you know very well, Drew, in Christianity, in Catholicism, or any other form that isn't fundamentalism, isn't crazy, I'm allowed to have friends that are not part of the faith. I can talk and I can dialogue with them. They're not. They are strictly ordered to move on, and that is a real cultic type of mentality.
It very much is. And I'm going to go ahead and move into my next beer. This is called the Original Amber Ale by St. Arnold. Let's get that in focus. Focus. There we go.
Oh.
It claims it is perfectly balanced. I don't think it's a Pilsner. I try to avoid those for personal preference, but, you know, I'm not against a good Pilsner every once in a while. Oh wow, this one's camping out at 6.2.
Oh goodness, you're just talking right now. That's a real good sweet spot.
Oh yeah, for me personally. I like a 6.2 as kind of a minimum for me. So let's see how this pour goes. I'm gonna go for a bit more of an aggressive one.
Oh, I love that color.
Oh yeah, that nice dark amber. That's gonna be tasty. In fact, that's one I will probably end up getting a 6-pack of later.
And just for people that will hear this later, and for Anthony, who I know is
Prost.
To your health, Prost. For Anthony, who I know is just listening in, St. Arnold, they're a great brewery. They do export as well. I know some people that do purchase them over there in the UK. I've got a very good friend that lives over there that does buy them over there. I don't know if they have that particular one, but you can find plenty of their offerings. And I got to say, I have not tried that one, Drew. I've got to try it. How is it?
It is really good, very tasty. This is definitely going to be a refrigerator staple as far as beer goes. Absolutely, this is great. I mean, yeah, it's good.
Wow.
I have my talents.
That looks great. Wow.
I'm trying not to be a complete heel and put the entire mug away in one chug. This is a live stream, not a frat party.
Right.
Damn it. That was one question I always had. This was a question I never actually got an answer to. When it comes to friars, I know that's not really a typical Catholic rank anymore among the priesthood and the cloth, but there was always the notion that they had not yet taken their vows of celibacy and chastity and all this, and as such were allowed to curse and carouse, at least to a certain extent. I'm not sure exactly how much truth there is in that, but it would be kind of interesting if it was, because that would be something that, in all honesty, would kind of fall under the Amish, or the Pennsylvania Dutch Amish practice of Rumspringa.
Yeah. I don't know how much truth that has to it. I am very well acquainted with a number of brotherhoods of priests in Germany. If you look here in the U.S., we really don't we really don't have a whole lot of monks you can really go and see. There's a brotherhood of them.
You don't really have orders of them.
There
At
you
least
go.
not present here.
There you
That's
go. And
that's
the
pretty much
tradition.
that's pretty much an entirely European thing, and
There you go.
a lot of that I believe has to do with the fact of the level of devotion to the faith at that point,
Yeah.
in which they devote themselves entirely to that cloister, that order,
Yeah. No
and
doubt.
so they're
And
not going to venture
this is one of them.
beyond that.
This is one of the ones you can go that there is an incredibly ancient brotherhood of monks there.
Right, the
I'm very
Index
good friends with a number of
Brewery
them.
Cloister.
There we go. And excuse me, that's good beer. In the U.S., I know you don't find it a whole lot. You do find it. Germany, as much as it pains me to say, has lost a lot of its faith. A lot of it, they've gone down the road to that. A lot of Europe, God is dead in Europe. We hear.
Well,
But
I mean, I would say that a good portion of that has to do with the Third Reich, the Nazi regime, going
yeah,
back to
and you know
World
what?
War II, and
There you go,
that
Drew.
left a really bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
And you know what, Drew? Not a lot of people know that. I'm going to point one thing out, Drew. You made a great point. A lot of the times we hear on something very unfortunate, Drew. A lot of the times we hear, well, darn, if only Hitler had won, maybe this wouldn't have happened to Germany. No. Hitler was trying to destroy the faith either way. Hitler
he was devout.
Hitler?
Yes, he himself was
No.
devout. He did go
Not
to
towards
Mass.
the end, he wasn't. Towards the end, he was very pro-Islam. Read what he says about Muhammad. Towards the end, he was very, very pro-Muhammad. He was very anti-Catholic to the end.
Well,
he was at war with Pope Pius XII at the very end there.
Right, because Pius XII had condemned his actions, had condemned his hatred of.
But before
the
that, they were
Jewish
buddies,
people.
Drew. You know that.
But up to
Before that, they were like this.
Oh yeah.
In fact, there are photos of them together until later it came out all the stuff he was doing. Pius condemned him, and they were at each other's throats. So the thing is this: had Hitler won, we wouldn't have a preservation of any faith. People think that. Get that out of your heads.
It probably wouldn't have been a preservation of faith. It would have ended up becoming a cudgel of the state, much like Eastern Orthodoxy Russian Orthodoxy, did under Stalin, because he knew how to play the political game. But as far as Hitler goes, up until the point where Pope Pius excommunicated him or called him out, he was quite devout. I mean, there's a reason why officer belt buckles of the Nazi regime had Gott mit uns engraved on them. It says God with us.
Right.
There was a reason why. I mean, Hitler
I don't doubt
dropped
that he
all
believed
the
in God.
dropped all the Christian bombs in every single speech he ever delivered. I mean,
I don't doubt he
you
believed
can
in
hate
God.
the man for his policies. You can hate the man for everything he ever did. He was a good
In the
public
beginning,
speaker.
yeah.
He could rile people up.
In the
he
beginning,
definitely had that cult of personality going for him. That's why he got so far.
No doubt. In the beginning, he did. In the beginning, he didn't say a lot of negative stuff towards Catholicism. He changes a lot towards the end there, though.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot. And in his official writings and writings that we have of his, where he makes positive statements about Islam and Muhammad, you can really tell his change in tone towards the faith. And I imagine a lot of that has to do with his frustration, really, at how his once friendship with Pius XII changed.
I would say that's definitely the case. I would say
Gotta be.
I would even go so far as to say that it wasn't his faith that was shaken beyond anything. I think it had more to do with the fact that someone he thought was a friend and a friend of his cause and would understand why he was doing what he was doing, to him betrayed him. If I had to go so far as to try and kind of, I'm not going to say psychoanalyze, but I'm going to say at least, make a social judgment on that as far as what that could possibly have entailed or done from it. But back on the topic of Jehovah's Witnesses, Anthony Ford refers to them as the cult of the damned. Talks about he works in a hospital, and the amount of Jehovah's Witnesses that come and avoid blood transfusions at the expense of their own health is insane. You are absolutely right. We were actually just about to bring this up right before we went down that tangent of
Pius and Hitler.
Hitler and Pius's Catholicism and whatnot. And yes, I'm gonna go ahead and say this one. They're absolutely and completely wrong on their interpretation of the Bible on that one, because it expressly uses the Hebrew word for ingest when it says not to partake of blood. It doesn't say partake, it says deliberately ingest. And ingest really only has one meaning, and that is to take in through the mouth through eating or drinking. So it has to go through to the digestive tract. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, in all honesty, vampirism has been part of human mythology going back a very, very long time. It at least goes back to ancient Sumer, if I remember right.
Well, we've got it even in the Old Testament. You've got to stop and wonder why the condemnation on drinking blood in the Old Testament, in actually drinking blood. So you maybe even have a hearkening towards that even in the Old Testament.
Possibly. And
let me interrupt you really quick to.
Oh yes, introduce your next brew. Let's go ahead and see it, because I need to introduce mine. My glass is about to go dry.
This is for a special occasion. So this is another beer, another case that I've been aging for a very long time. This is a Mexican Bock. This is owned by the company that makes Dos Equis.
Okay.
They release this Bock only one time a year in November. It is their Noche Buena beer, and I have been aging it since
2011. Wow, you've been working on that one for a good 8 years.
Oh yeah.
How big's the case? I might have to try and relieve you of a couple of bottles.
When we meet, I will take some to you.
All
this
right.
is a very good beer, and as you know very well, it is not hard to age a Bock with a good amount of alcohol.
Oh no,
I
not at
tried
all.
one,
especially
a few
bottle
weeks
aged
ago.
Sealed like that. No,
Oh, look at this. See if I can show a little bit. It's got a good amount of head.
Yeah, that's
at
got
that.
a solid head on there.
Oh yeah, and after what, over 8 years?
Yeah, you
Close
could almost float a spoon on that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and open up mine. Let's see. I've got the Elisa IPA, also from St. Arnold. This one says it is 100% Cascade hops. That's pretty good. Cascade hops.
Yeah.
That'll do it. That'll make a good beer. I'll give it that. And this one is right in my sweet spot, rocking a 7.1.
Oh wow.
So we're moving up a little bit. And if it comes down to it, and based on the rate of consumption here, we will get to that point. Let's go ahead and get this pour out of the way. Go really aggressive.
Oh, you went real strong right from the get-go.
Oh yeah, perfect. There we go. Look at that beautiful bean footage right there.
That looks incredible.
It does. I can't seem to overcome the blurred background all that much, but you can see that nice dark amber color. Let's see. And, well, to your health. Prost.
Yes, Prost.
Oh, yes, very tasty.
It looks very, very good.
I'm getting hints of, like coffee.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Like, my morning staple is black coffee. Either that or a Monster, whichever I get to first. Yeah, that foam's lasting a good ways down.
That is pretty good.
Yeah. The only thing I will say about St. Arnold's is the tops pop a little too easy, and I think that allows them to lose a bit of their effervescence.
Oh,
because they don't seem to hold it in. But there again, I also think they underfill the bottles a little bit to prevent any kind of, bottle bombing and stuff like that.
Do they require an opener?
Yes, they do, actually.
They do,
that's
right?
why I'm using this. If they were twist off, I'd just be using my hand.
That's right. They all require one, right?
They all did, yeah. But they popped really easily, easier than the ones I had last stream. But there again, I did get them from, you know, insert big box grocery store here. No,
Right.
no, it wasn't Walmart. It was one of those places that lets you build your own six pack for $10. Hey,
Hey,
you
that's
know.
great.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great way to try different beers. There was one that I really wanted to try, but I could not quite bring myself to justify spending the money on getting the six pack of it, and that was I think it was a Belgian beer called Grolsch. It
I
looks
haven't
good.
had that one.
It looks like it should be kind of tasty. It's got green bottles. It looks very similar to Stella Artois. Uh, that's one of the reasons why I kind of just put my hands up, backed off a little bit because I wasn't entirely sure if it was just gonna try to be a slightly more expensive carbon copy of just that. And if
You
that's
know
the
what I would
case,
like?
I've had Stella.
You know what I would like to share with you?
Please do.
And I'm going to tell you what I would like to share with you. Now that you mentioned Stella Artois, my uncle, who passed away a few years ago, left me 20 beers of Stella Artois from 25 years ago.
Oh, dang.
Back when the alcohol level was way higher, back when it was dark, and back when the bottles were a different color. They're brown bottles.
Yeah.
They look nothing like the new one.
Wow.
One of these days, we got to try one of those. I have never tried it. I am willing to pop one of those open with you. I've never tried them.
All right, yeah, no. The first option we have at doing a live stream together in the same location, you know what? We'll set that up and we'll run with it.
Definitely, no doubt.
I mean, hell, I might even try to get you to come out to Houston. Hopefully, once I get moved down there, because
No doubt, definitely.
my computer is definitely powerful enough to support two cameras. And,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to come down, get you a webcam. I'm hoping to have an upgraded microphone somewhere by around that time. And,
Awesome.
We'll feed it all in, and we'll
Rock
just
it.
do a kind of a round table thing.
Definitely.
All right. Well, talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses and not even really the blood thing, since we kind of already covered that to a certain extent. The bite model is something that I think everyone should be familiar with. If you haven't done it, you need to check out the YouTube channel Telltale. He's an atheist like myself, but he is an apostate Jehovah's Witness. He left that faith entirely. And he does a lot of analysis of different religious organizations based on the bite model. Had to turn my head and burp. Oh, good old effervescent beer will do that to you.
Oh, no doubt.
Now, and for those who don't understand, or who are not familiar, BITE is actually an acronym. Stands for Behavior Control, Information Control, Thought Control, and Emotional Control. All of these things are absolutely... It ranges from, penny ante stuff like information control, of minimizing or discouraging access to non-cult sources of information, such as internet, TV, radio, books, articles, newspapers, critical information, former members, insert J-dubs here, keep members busy so they don't have time to think and investigate, or control through cell phone with texting, calls, internet tracking. That's just one point in information control. It can go even further to things such as, and this still hits on Jehovah's Witnesses, with extensive use of cult-generated information and propaganda, such as newsletters, magazines, journals, the Watchtower. The Watchtower organization. It is probably one of the most flagrant religious propaganda mills to ever exist within this country.
Yeah, no doubt. Really, really.
And the
it is so
Bethelites are
dangerous.
even worse.
Yeah, and it's just such a dangerous cult, really. And from what I've gathered from the number of people that I know, even I'm going to say that you go from Jehovah's Witness, even if you do find your way out of that faith, Usually, the only other route is atheism because they've been so damaged. Like, like
It's
I
not
know
even
you.
it's
I
I
yeah,
wouldn't
like
even
I
say
know
it's as
you.
much that, but yes, definitely
Well,
that is one way to guarantee someone to become an atheist, or
it is
nearly
because I know
guarantee.
you've embraced it. I know you. I know when you look at somebody like you yourself,
Hmm.
you've embraced atheism for other reasons. You've looked at Christianity in a logical fashion, and you, in your opinion, you can't seem to believe or to follow the faith. So you've embraced atheism. But compare that to a Jehovah's Witness who get so damaged that they don't go the route you go. They're just so damaged that they're so hurting that there's no other way, there's no other path for them to really take than to reject organized religion wholesale because they're so fed up with all the garbage they've had to go through.
Yeah, exactly.
You
And
know the
you
comparison
know,
I'm making.
I
It's very
oh,
different compared to
absolutely.
your situation.
I will bring something up. Uh, a particular religious thing. I cannot remember chapter and verse on this one, so help me if you can. And of course, I will be paraphrasing. um, it is not just the unrighteous man who will go to hell, but those who, through their efforts or through their actions, prevent those from coming to God, will
Right.
suffer even greater. It's something along those lines. I used
Yeah,
to
yeah, you've
remember
got the
chapter
right
and
idea.
verse,
Mhm.
and I used to remember like verbatim what it said, not just in KJV but also ESV, because
Right.
plain English, it's a little bit easier for people to understand.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah, yeah. That is a good summary of the passage. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I used an ESV even as a Catholic.
Oh yeah. Oh
It,
no
it,
doubt.
it had
Yeah.
its uses. It had its uses. We had we had
Oh
that
yeah.
discussion within our little Facebook group chat with Mike and a couple of the Reason and Theology guys.
Oh yeah.
And
No
there's
doubt.
that one passage in, was it Timothy? It was something in there. Uh, anyway, it was one of the letters from the apostles to somebody. It was either the Colossians, Galatians, something along those lines. And the way it was worded, the way they had altered the translation ever so slightly, it made it seem as though there was it was saying something it actually wasn't, or it was separating two ideas that were meant to be combined from square one, from jump.
Yeah,
Now,
and that's the
I'd
dangerous.
like your thoughts on this one. Now, I'm not going to go so far as to say that Catholicism is a cult, but there are some interesting things that it seems to kind of key in on, to a certain extent, on a couple of things on the bite model. Now, keep in mind, virtually every single organization on the planet, and this would also include the U.S. military, and I love the military. I have friends and family that were military. They're great people. The military was an amazing thing for them. It was an amazing opportunity. And, I encourage anybody, if you're thinking about military service, do it. It has good benefits.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and if you want like usable, workable skills outside of it, I'm gonna go against uh, my own personal issue on that one, or my own personal issues on that one, and say Navy or Air Force. Both of those will teach you some kind of very valuable technical skill for working out in the civilian world. I've got at least two friends that went Air Force that were radar and networking technicians. Came out, took a Cisco networking test without even studying, passed it with flying colors, and they work as network operators for cable companies. I mean, they know what they're doing. So if
Oh
someone's
yeah.
considering that, and they're interested in tech stuff, they're interested in computers and internet engineering, please do this. If you're a young person, absolutely go for it. You will be all the
Definitely.
better for it. um, but back on what I was saying about things, and this falls under, oh, what is it, behavior control. of all things, with Catholicism, such as things like when, how, and with whom the member has sex is one thing. Uh, the Jewish faith would fall under behavior control on point 5, which is a regulated diet, such as food and drink, hunger and or fasting. Islam would fall under that. I mean, like I was saying, virtually every single organization will hit on at least one point within
Oh, no doubt.
probably each section of the bite model. What matters when doing a bite model analysis of something is how many points does it take from each category.
Right.
And that's where, you know, to use my favorite phrase, the devil is in the details. You know, such as behavior control. I mean, just about everything within that would fall under something, such as regulating an individual's physical reality. If that's to mean things such as weight, body size, body type, congratulations, you've just included every modeling agency and the military.
Yeah.
I
I think
mean,
the one
so
I think the one difference would be that if you're looking at the rules defined within Catholicism and within Judaism and what have you, um, the great difference in the terms of those behavioral control things or what have you, if you will, if you want to call them that, is that within those faiths you do not get penalized to the point of being shunned or to the point of being being made an outcast whenever you break
well,
a
see,
certain
that's
law.
that's why the bite model breaks things up into these four
Yeah,
different quadrants, these four different categories, such as like with emotional control. You know, manipulate and narrow the range of feelings. Some emotions and or needs are deemed as evil, wrong, or selfish. Teaching emotion stopping techniques to block feelings of homesickness, anger, and doubt. You know, these are things that fall under emotional control.
hmm
So, an organization can rate highly in one category or can pull
right.
multiple points in one category without really being considered a cult. You have to rate highly in each category, or at least moderately, to be considered something worth paying attention to.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
was saying with, Catholicism, within behavior control, yes, there is some regulation, such as the when, how, and with whom the member has sex, because there are rules within Catholicism, or really all of Christianity, such, such as abstinence of premarital sex,
definitely.
abstinence from homosexual contact, things of that nature. So that
Yeah.
is a point in the behavior control category. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to fall under things such as in emotional control, or actually really under information control of unethical use of confession, such as
Well,
information about sins used to disrupt or dissolve identity boundaries,
well the
withholding
whole the whole
forgiveness or absolution, or
the whole
manipulation of
topic of the
memory.
homosexuality would even predate Catholicism. That would go all the way back towards Judaism.
Uh, yeah, I would say I'd even go back to the Talmud if I want to.
Oh yeah.
If we want
Oh
to
yeah.
go,
No doubt.
if we want to like kick that can as far down the road as we
Yeah.
as possible until we hit that cul-de-sac at the end.
Yeah. No
uh,
doubt.
but man, wow. So my glass has run dry. If you
Oh,
wouldn't
it
mind
has.
keeping the people entertained, I'm going to go grab a couple of backups from the fridge. These are going to be from Fredonia Brewery,
Oh,
and I've been
well,
itching to try these.
and while you step out, I am going to take the question Anthony said, and would you consider dating a Pakistani Muslim girl? I'm gonna approach that from my perspective.
Well, hang on. I'm
I
going
don't
to
know if
turn
you.
my camera on real quick just for this
Okay.
one. Anthony, to address your question, I have.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie. Her name no, excuse me. She wasn't Pakistani. I apologize. She was Iranian. Her name was Aya Kashani. She was a wonderful person. And granted, that was all the way back in high school. She was she was lovely. She was a good person. Um, not the uh, typical member of the Islamic faith. But anyways, I'll be right back.
Sure. I'll tackle that while you step away. On my end, as the practicing Catholic, um, to date a Pakistani Muslim girl, that is an excellent question. I think that for a non-practicing individual, I wouldn't recommend that. I wouldn't recommend it in the sense that if you don't have your own faith in order, I would kind of look at what I need to get in order before doing something like that. But I mean, really, when you've got to look at it like this, if you were to consider dating a Pakistani Muslim girl, as a Catholic, there's many things you have to look at. One, are they willing to convert to the faith? Are they willing to follow your faith? Are they willing to accept the Catholic doctrines? Which really, a lot of those can be really stumbling blocks, Anthony. Aside from the clear fact that there are great barriers to overcome, on my end, I don't know what to say. I really wouldn't know what to say. On my end, I guess if those compromises were met, perhaps I would consider it. But somebody unwilling to go down that route, I'd have to say no. Yeah, it's not good to just abandon people and collect welfare. That we don't recommend that at all.
No, not at all. That's just not cool. Yes, I will agree with you on abstaining from spam. I won't even say that it's meat. I would say that it is meat adjacent. At the very best. And this is coming from a person who has been so broke that I've had to eat spam sandwiches. And so if that is a person's main form of subsistence because that's what they can afford, I am not knocking you because of that. I knock spam primarily for how it came into existence. It was one of the first instituted uses of a chemical additive in food called MSG, which is monosodium glutamate. It has this wonderful property. It's actually naturally occurring in soy sauce. Another little fun fact there before we get to the main point. And that is, it has this amazing property of tricking the brain into thinking something that is absolute crap for your body and doesn't actually taste good from a neurochemical and taste bud standpoint.
You're right.
It will trick you into thinking that it's actually good. And so it allows certain companies to get away with selling what would arguably be called not fit to feed a dog and label it as appropriate for human consumption.
You're correct.
Now, that is not to say that all spam is bad. Like turkey spam, aside from the fact that it is absolutely loaded with sodium, isn't completely terrible because it really is made from all turkey. But aside from that, not really my thing, if I'm going to get completely honest on that one. So Fredonia Brewery is based in Nacogdoches, Texas, which is actually not far down the road from me, which I find kind of cool. So at some point, I am going to try and make a trip down to the brewery and see what it looks like, see what all's going on down there. I did have a Kolsch from them recently called the Professional Texan. It was, in a word, delightful as far as beers go.
Wow.
That one's a 4.4 ABV, so all Kolsch's are pretty low as far as that goes. They're also pretty low bitterness. That one was only about 22 IBUs. Those I think that actually stands for International Bitterness Unit. How each unit of measurement is determined, I couldn't actually tell you because I haven't looked that much into it. Let's see. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I'll start with the stronger one. So I've got two of them sitting right here with me. The first is a Nine Flags Amber Ale.
Oh, wow.
This one, and this is actually paying tribute to all Nine Flags that have flown over Nacogdoches, Texas in that area for the last 300 years. Pulling directly from their website, it says it is a bold malt forward, mahogany red in color, We'll find that out in just a moment. With a solid hops finish to balance out all those beautiful crystal malts. So, putting all the marketing lingo aside, it sounds like, ooh, that's a good crack.
That sounds really
It'll
good.
be a pretty good beer. Let's see. Oh yeah,
That is
nice,
beautiful.
nice dark color.
That is beautiful.
Got a good pour off of it too. A little bit thicker head than what I would usually go for, but inch and a half, not bad as far as that goes. And all that out of a 12-ounce can.
That looks really good.
Oh yeah, no, you're gonna love the next one I have. But you know what? I'm gonna keep that one tucked back a little bit. Just, let you see it here in a minute. This one is actually a 6.3% ABV. So again, right there in that sweet spot that I kind of prefer. This one's going to be a bit more bitter than what a lot of people are probably used to. This one hits at a 49 on the IBU scale. I think, for reference, standard American Pilsner falls somewhere in the 20 to 25 range.
Whoa.
I want to say. I think they're really close to the Kolsch's on that one, because again, Kolsch and Pilsner, they're not that far apart.
Right.
And also, there are ways of brewing a beer that has a higher alcohol content without getting super high in bitterness. And
No
for this
doubt.
one to be a 49 at 6.3%, that kind of tells you that this was designed to be a bitter beer. So, here we go. Post.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, this is definitely the most bitter beer so far of the evening. Not getting any coffee on the taste as far as that goes.
You're
Which is
not.
generally what you would expect off of a bitter.
Right.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, we'll go ahead and do this for you, Anthony. Sure, why not? Hatchet Turner, you are a terrific bastard. And you should be glad to have Anthony Ford as a friend. And you should watch the show and subscribe.
I have got.
And yeah, looking back at the earlier statement, knew a guy who was in the Army, Mario, messed him up rotten. Yeah, I hate that for you. That dude Mario, he is a very, very bad example of someone who served in the Army. I'm sure he probably served in the Army with distinction, but he sounds like a terrible person. Personally, I have a cousin. He served in the U.S. Army with distinction for 4 years. Honorably discharged. Is still an amazing guy. Love the guy like a brother. And, he takes really good care of his family. Let's see. Do I watch horror movies? Absolutely. I watch horror movies. I love horror movies. Ooh,
We've got to do a
Nürnberger
horror movie stream.
Bra.
We've got to do a beer stream talking about horror movies.
Oh, absolutely. That's gonna wait for I don't know if you have a little one, so Halloween might be tied up for you as far as doing a spooky stream or something like that.
I don't know. I think I can do it.
Okay.
I'm up for that.
If we can swing a Halloween stream, absolutely, we will do a beer stream.
Let's do it.
And it will be entirely about horror movies. As far
Do
as
it.
my favorite baddie, Anthony Ford, let's see. Gosh, there's so many good ones. I hate to try to pin it down to just one. I really do. Of course, Jason Voorhees is a primary staple for any horror diet. Insert generic zombie movie here as well. Like Walking Dead for the TV show, which is actually pretty good. It hits more on the drama side of things than I would personally kind of gear myself toward, but I can certainly appreciate it given the fact that it focuses on how people would survive in the event of a zombie apocalypse. So there is that. There is definitely that. Um, let's see. Yeah, the Jason movies, the Friday the 13th movies, they got a little phoned in after about the third one. Freddy Krueger was always a laugh. In all honesty, the Freddy Krueger movies, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, they never actually scared me. I I would laugh my ass off every time I watched those movies because of just the little quippy one-liners that Freddy would throw out for no real apparent reason. It was hilarious, and I loved it. Um, in all honesty, Freddy Krueger would probably be the closest thing to a horror movie dad joke ever. I mean, he was always making puns. He was always bringing up the goofiest nonsense. Hands down, Freddy Krueger is the dad joke of horror franchises, and I absolutely love it for it. That's It's a great form of entertainment. Uh, although I will say, having spent my time working in particular fields, I'll just say that. 99% of what you see happening in a horror movie, yeah, human bodies don't behave like that when you do those things to them. They just don't. Like, for instance, in a lot of them, there's just not that much blood. Granted, there's a lot of blood. Human body holds close, right, around 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons. That's a lot. But when you see someone that's just like randomly decapitated and there's just like fountains and fountains of it all over the place and it doesn't
Crazy.
stop for 5 minutes straight, yeah, no, even though it's under pressure inside the body, it's not going to spray that far. It's not going to be that much. But again, with any movie, with any Hollywood production, there has to be a certain level of suspension of disbelief. And again, Nürnberger Bugprau. I want to try that. That looks really interesting.
It is very, very good, and as you can tell, it's
a
from
monk beer, it
Germany.
looks like, based on the hat that he was wearing.
It is from Nuremberg, Germany. It is a very, very good beer. You're going to try some of that as well. You've got to try some of that as well.
You should be making a spreadsheet of this at this point, as much as you're
I'm going to have to,
man.
I'm going to have to. You're going to love it. You really are. I'm going to toss out a title that I want you to get a hold of, or Anthony to get a hold of. My number one horror movie villain.
Go for it.
Will probably be very different from most people's. My number one horror movie villain will be The Invisible Man from 1933.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
That is one of my favorite movies of all time.
The 1930s version of the H.G. Wells novel. Absolutely, that was an amazing book.
Incredible book, incredible movie. I'm telling you, Anthony, if you have not seen The Invisible Man from 1933, get it right now and watch it. You will not regret it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And also, if you want to go so far as go back into classic horror, come on. You got to start cranking out some Bela Lugosi Dracula movies. Although, personally,
no, don't do it.
Sir Christopher Lee will always hold a special place in my heart for Dracula. Because
don't tell me you take him over, Bela.
They were so campy.
But do you take him over Bela?
Cardboard and stuff throughout the movies. It was great.
Do you take him over Bela, though?
That's
remember, Bela was working with a lot less. Bela didn't have the blood.
Lugosi was working with a lot less. But again, Christopher Lee, he brought those distinct stage acting chops. And he and Lugosi were both, pretty equally skilled.
Okay, I know what I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Which one of those two had the aura of a count?
In all honesty, they both do. But you want to know who never did?
Who's that?
Frank Langella.
Frank Langella was not a good Dracula.
No,
Not
he
like
wasn't.
that. You're right.
I will give him credit. He tried. The man is a great actor. He's done some amazing stuff, but he.
Okay, I know something we can agree on.
Okay.
I hope. Will you agree that the greatest Van Helsing is Peter Cushing?
Ooh. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, and and Cushing is going to get my vote for the plain and simple fact that, he was Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars.
Correct.
I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, and Peter Cushing was fantastic. I do really hate the disservice that they did to him when they kind of like reconstructed his face in Rogue One, but despite all the hate I might get from it, Rogue One was not a bad movie.
It was good.
For one simple fact, and for a single scene that only lasted about 20 to 30 seconds. And it was at the end when you saw Vader in all of his animalistic rage.
Right.
That was the best rendition of just how rage-fueled Darth Vader was throughout that franchise.
No doubt.
He was an unmitigable monster. And to this day, he's still one of my absolute favorite characters.
I agree.
And I'm mad at George Lucas for doing such a disservice to him, which I guess is mostly just limited based on the technology and the capacity of costume design of the time, not having CG. I get all that. I really do. I really wish that we could have just a solid Vader movie of the kind of in-between of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and see just how far Vader goes. You see what Vader is like, and all that. And I get that they kind of give that to you to a certain degree with Star Wars Rebels. I think it is. But at the end of the day, it's still a cartoon. It just doesn't have the same gravitas as a live action film will. It just to me it just doesn't do the character justice. But at the end of the day, he's a great character. In fact, my tattoo is of my ultimate favorite. If I can get this in camera.
Oh wow!
This one's not quite finished yet. It's almost done. I'm just gonna have to. I hate doing this. It's so unprofessional, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And that's Darth Revan.
Wow, you are a huge fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The whole thing is designed to be like my right arm is going to be a dark side Star Wars sleeve by the time I'm done.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine it? Look, like 10 years down the road, walking back into the law office from a day in court or whatever, and changing into a short sleeve shirt, and they just see two dual Star Wars sleeves.
Oh yeah.
Rocking underneath the long sleeve button down shirt. I think that would be hilarious.
It'll be great.
Yeah, I think so too. And for everybody saying that tattoos are terrible, you know what? To quote the dude from The Big Lebowski, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah.
So I have to go as far as that one. Yes, I have seen the It movies, Anthony. Gosh, I want to say this for the horror stream, but since you brought it up, I'll go ahead and answer it. The It movies are fantastic. The Tim Curry one still messes with me. I'm not even going to lie, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Tim Curry has just this special kind of creepy that nobody else can just imbue into a role. Now, that is not to say that...
For me, Tim Curry will always be Pennywise, for me.
Yes, absolutely. Tim Curry, best Pennywise of all time. Now, Bill Skarsgård, he does a fantastic job. Like that creepy ass thing he does with his eyes, where one just kind of shoots off in another direction. That's not CGI. He can actually
Not.
do it.
Yep.
I mean, so that is just really cool because one of the things I thought was funny was I found this picture. It was a video, and then I found a picture of it later of Bill Hader, who is playing an older character in It Part 2 of one of the people from the more recent It movie. And
You already gone.
he
You've already
asked,
gone to
he
see it
asked,
too. Have you seen part 2?
yeah, I have not seen Part 2 yet. I really want to see it, though. But he walks up and he talks to Bill Skarsgård, and he asks him, how he does that. Like, what kind of CG platform did they use? Because it looks so real, so lifelike. And then he goes, "Oh, you mean this?" And he just lets his eyes shoot off like that.
Wow.
And you just see Hader just recoil, just like, "Oh, no." Because
Wow.
what made it even worse was the fact that Bill Skarsgård was in full costume when he did it.
Wow.
So that just made it that much funnier. It was just like, no, the guy in the clown makeup can really do that. So,
That's incredible.
As far as that goes, you know what? Let's bring up another fun-filled organization on the fundamentalist track. I'm going to bring up Mormonism. And all I'm going to say is the quintessential thing that everyone thinks of when they hear the word Mormon: magic underwear.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That is a very interesting organization.
Yeah,
that is
started by a con man, a convicted felon.
Yeah, Joseph Smith was a con man. If I ever heard of one, he was definitely a con man.
He was a convicted fraud prior to starting this religion. He's the original L. Ron Hubbard.
You're right.
Like, he is 19th century L. Ron Hubbard. Or I guess, actually, you would say that L. Ron Hubbard is 20th century Joseph Smith.
There you go.
You want to be appropriate as far as that goes. I mean,
and it really tells you a whole
even
lot.
within the Mormon organizations, like you have the LDS and you have other fractured offshoots of Mormonism, where they can't seem to come to a conclusion on the whole polygamy thing. But I will say, if you go based on the let's see if I can say this with a alcohol loosened tongue, the Levitican laws. Haha, got it. When you get into marriage, technically speaking, it boils down to one man and however many women he can afford to keep in his house.
Sure. The thing is, the problem is we're no longer under
all Christianity or anything like that.
Right, yeah.
But, I mean they at least have some ground to build an argument off of. I have to grant them that at the very least.
They do. The problem is this. The problem is we're no longer under that law. And they've even admitted that we're not under that law anymore because they've accepted Christ as the Messiah. They may look at him in a different manner, but the Bible is also clear that once the Messiah would come, even before that law became defunct. So really for them to continue hearkening to that seems more like Joseph Smith's convenience of doing so than anything else, because they've accepted Christ as the Messiah. So to me, it just seems like really you're going to want to have your cake and eat it too kind of a situation more than anything else.
I actually have a fun fact for you on that one. It's not,
oh, yeah.
It's not actually have your cake and eat it too. The appropriate structure of the phrase is eat your cake and have it too. Because
eat your cake
and have it too. Because that's where the paradox actually comes into play.
Okay.
That was how
they want to eat their cake and have it. You're right. They want to eat their cake and have it.
We've been saying, like, for the vast majority, people have been saying it wrong for about 400 years.
Right. You hear it all the time.
But people with classical educations, like true classical educations,
right,
will say it properly. And funnily enough, that's one of the reasons they caught Ted Kaczynski, was through linguistic analysis. And the fact that he used the phrase, eat your cake and have it too. That's how they narrowed it down to like a particular, it was either middle school or high school primer on Shakespearean English.
Wow, that I was not aware of. Wow.
Yeah, no, really cool. Uh,
Well,
Dude, I am a
you get the
veritable
point.
font of useless information. Like, there
Right.
is
Yeah.
so much rattling around up here that has absolutely no practicality beyond providing a little bit of entertainment on YouTube from time to time.
Well, you get the point in that Joseph Smith really, the guy was a con man.
Oh,
But the
yeah.
guy,
I honestly
you,
think,
I'll tell
at
you
least to
one
some
thing that
extent,
Smith
with
really
the
does.
polygamy thing, I honestly think that part of that was trying to attract people to his religion
Yeah,
through,
totally.
and people are going to get mad at me for saying this. Maybe. I don't know. The YouTube censors might. But I will say it for comedic effect that Joseph Smith, quite possibly, at least to some degree, was trying to attract people to his religion through the ancient art of poontang.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt. And I think the one thing to me that is a bit more shocking than anything else is that within Mormonism,
Now I've got my smoky beer.
oh, yeah, I think with it,
I
the
want to
one
see
thing
how
that
it tastes.
shocks me the most is within Mormonism, you have a growing faction of Hispanics and Mexicans
I
that are
have to stop you there
converting
for a
towards
second
Mormonism.
because this is the beer stream, therefore beer takes precedence.
Of course.
I I'm sorry, that's not my decision. I don't make the rules as far as that goes. Um, but using a vape with this particular beer brought a whole new life to
Flavor.
this.
Really?
Like, yes, absolutely. Um, like, okay, so the vape juice that I'm using is of my own design. It uses hints of like graham cracker cheese crust, French vanilla,
Oh,
and a couple
wow.
and Bavarian cream because I gotta put that little bit of German in there. And
Wow.
the way it works, it's got a very desserty feel to it. And when it's sitting there on it, and you have that slight bit of inhale as you drink, it brings out like it eliminates that licorice
Different
taste
flavor.
that I'm not really fond of, but it brings just this really powerful caramel note to the front of it, and
Wow.
it's awesome. I kind of regret having drank the vast majority of this beer without doing that now.
Wow.
But anyway, I'm sorry. You were saying
Oh,
that a
yeah.
lot of the Latinx community was kind of shifting, or at least parts of the Latinx community was shifting towards Mormonism in certain degrees.
And
Have you seen that as particular regions, like such as
Texas.
populations migrate to those areas in which there is a greater Mormon presence?
Yeah,
I
and
mean, because
really
that
to
can just
me,
be social pressure.
the one thing that really does kind of really shock me a bit more is that within Mormonism, there's clear doctrine that if your skin is not white, if you're dark, you cannot reach the highest level of heaven.
Oh yeah, Brigham Young. He was
You've
a
got the
he
curse
was a
upon you.
flagrant racist.
You've got the curse upon you. So you've got to wonder what is going through their heads when they accept this kind of fundamentalism. I mean, I
Because
would
they're
even
getting.
label it hyper fundamentalism.
I actually have an answer to this question. Because we are no longer living in the age of true Brigham Young style Mormonism. This is the modern day touchy feely Mormonism versus, like, for instance, they're used back in Vatican I, hellfire and brimstone, man, all of it, all the time.
Oh yeah,
Everyone was guilty. You're all going to hell. You're a terrible, terrible person all the time. And you're only going to be accepted into heaven if you give me a shit ton of money and buy this indulgence with
right.
a
But
relic
that
attached
was
to it.
never official teaching.
Right?
Remember,
No, no,
those
no.
were
No.
abuses.
I'm not saying it was. I'm
Yeah,
just saying that, like, you have, you know,
that abuse, clear
earlier
abuse.
earlier kind of middle-aged pre-Renaissance Catholicism, and even into the Renaissance for a little while, Catholicism had that going for it. And then Mormonism did a very similar thing
Only that
when
they
when
included
it
it
came
as
to
part of their
racism.
teaching.
When it came to racism in the mid late 1900s, when old Joe Boy was getting really hot and heavy with his stuff, and Brigham Young was getting into it. Quick thing going back to, why did I take up vaping? In all honesty, I took up vaping to quit smoking, and it has been a resounding success. I no longer smoke cigarettes. I will probably never stop vaping entirely. And now, I do know that it's not great for me, and that I do have a higher risk of pneumonia and things like that. I'm aware of the health risks. But,
I didn't know that.
but you know what? I'm a big boy now. I graduated from pull-ups, and so I can make those decisions with my life. I'm an adult. I'm, a free American over the age of 21. So, while I accept that this is not the greatest thing in the world for me, I do accept the fact that every time I have quit cigarettes cold turkey, I have ultimately gone back to them. And by replacing them with something that is not as dangerous and not and doesn't have as many adverse health risks or side effects, you know what? I'll take that over smoking, and I'll take that over nothing. And I've already weaned myself down to, I think when I make these, I now only do like 2 milligrams of nicotine in the entire bottle. So it's not really all that much. It's basically just enough nicotine that allows me to deal with the daily amount of stupid that I encounter.
And that's probably a lot. Oh, man.
Uh, well, I'm not going to go too much into my professional background on that one, but in all honesty, work is not the main source of stupid that I encounter. That's pretty
Okay.
much just people in general. But, that's probably a topic for another time. Maybe once we get up to, like, say, I don't know, 1,000 or 10,000 subscribers, I'll do a live stream in the middle of the day and do kind of like an Ask Me Anything type thing. That
There
seems to
you
be
go.
pretty popular these days.
It really is. Yeah, you're right about that.
Okay, you're... Uh, to avoid the YouTube censors, Anthony, I did see your most recent comment, and, nope, that hasn't happened. So that's all I'm going to say on that one, because, well,
They will hit
this
you.
video
The
is not
censors will hit
monetized
you.
or anything. I just, don't feel like getting this thing age-gated before it's ever out of the
Agreed.
cradle. Oh, and to dispel the myths of what they've been talking about, how vaping is like killing people now, that has actually been isolated down to a few incidences. When it comes to legal vaping, the death toll is 0. However, there have been some people that have acquired black market, I don't think it's CBD oil, but perhaps THC oil, to kind of do a form of, cannabis vaping or something like that, or some kind of cannabinoid vaping. Um, and because they were cutting it with a vitamin E oil that, when heated to vaporization in a vape mod, which is usually going to be between 400 and 600 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on the impedance of the coil, results in a toxic chemical being inhaled. So, yeah, no, that's not good for you. In
Right.
fact, vaping has gotten a lot safer in the last 4 or 5 years because they've recognized that diketones or diacetyl ketones were the main cause, or the main prevailing factor in the onset of things like diseases like popcorn lung. And so that's one of the reasons why I mix my own juices, is because by carefully selecting the individual flavors that I utilize in making these, I don't put that chemical in there, and so I don't inhale that atomized chemical because I'm not trying to do that. But anyways, you are gonna have to Further clarify that big bull boy comment. If you're commenting about my size, yes, I'm a fat ass. I mean, I make no bones about it. I know I'm a big guy. But long story short,
You like to be big and strong.
it's not even that. Like I'm fat. I have no illusions as to that. I am fat. I weigh about 375, 385, somewhere in that range. But over 50% of it's muscle, so I'm not entirely tore up about it. I am working towards the lower end of the scale, and I am moving in that direction with working out and diet and exercise. These beer
There you go.
streams are once every 2 weeks, so yes, and I also do calibrate myself by lowering my calorie intake so I can get away with drinking a
Yeah.
good bit of beer during these streams
Same
without
here.
going too crazy. And speaking of beer, oh no, my glass is empty. I have to remedy that.
Yeah, I've got to as well. I'm gonna get up and snag another one as well.
All right. Well, you know what? Since this is my last beer, I'm gonna let you show yours before I show mine. For the plain simple fact of this is the last beer I actually have in the fridge that I'm willing to bring out. I have some gozes, but I haven't been working outside or doing any woodworking lately, which I kind of do as a hobby, and so I'm not really wanting to get into that real salty tasting beer because they do brew that I think with salt water to a certain extent. Okay, well then, Anthony. Oh, just said I'm a big boy regarding my vaping. Yes, I am. I'm a big boy now. Feel free to clip that and turn that into a meme and completely embarrass me. Go for it, man. I don't care. But to further entertain people while William is away, yeah, no, vaping isn't as absolutely terrible for people as people like to think and or say. One really important thing people need to kind of keep in mind when it comes to vaping is that when a vapor exhales, it's not like secondhand smoke where you can actually contract like carcinogenic chemicals from it by accidentally breathing it in or becoming exposed to it. When you exhale, it's literally just water vapor. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to do anything bad to you. At least, not that any amount of scientific evidence or exploration has been able to determine. Now, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. Didn't George Michael say that before being arrested? Okay, Anthony, that was a good one. You got me, man. You got me. You know what? I'm not super familiar with that one. Gosh, I'm showing my age a little bit, and perhaps showing my ignorance more than anything else because I don't listen to a lot of pop music. Wasn't George Michael part of Wham? I want to say he was. I think he was part of Wham. But feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I do have my moments. And welcome back to William. So what did you bring for us, buddy?
Well, I'm gonna bring out one that I've already had before. I had it last week.
Okay.
Just to close the night out with another Oktoberfest.
Ah, yes, the Shiner Oktoberfest. They aren't bad. They're actually pretty good beers.
They're not bad at all. They're light. They're kind of lightish. The next time, the next stream we do is going to be a pure Oktoberfest beer stream on my end.
Oh man, I'm. You know what? In the spirit of that, I'm going to try. I'm really going to try. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find just pure Oktoberfest beers.
You might be able to.
I might be able to. It just depends on
Depends
how
where
big.
you go.
Yeah, it really depends on where you go. Being in Lufkin, that kind of narrows options down because there's not an Oktoberfest festival that actually goes on in this area that I'm particularly close to. I think there might be one in Nacogdoches, so I might be able to catch a few things at um, the liquor store close to the SFA campus, maybe. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Beautiful. Uh, well, I
To
decided
your health.
I
Cool.
would end out as far as beers go with another one from Fredonia Brewery. It's a Hefeweizen.
Mm.
Oh yeah, it is their Hefeweizen. Come on, focus. It really does not want to focus, does it?
It's being really stubborn.
It is being stubborn. Okay, you know what? For right now, we're gonna. I'm gonna hide my camera, although I'm not gonna mute my audio, so I can go into my Skype options and let's see, and unblur my background at least for now, just so. You know what? I'm just gonna leave it unblurred for the rest of the stream. It's not that big of a deal. There. That way I don't have to deal with focusing issues when it comes to this. This is Fredonia Brewery's Hefeweizen.
There you
What
go.
that literally means is wheat beer. Weisse or Weiss means wheat. Weizen means
Yep.
wheat beer. Hefe, it is not to be confused with the Spanish word jefe, which is spelled with a J for boss, but Hefe in German means hops. It is a hops wheat or wheat beer. That's
Correct.
how it works. This one is clocking in at what most people would consider a measly 4% ABV, but you know what? I figured I'd give it a try because it's a Hefeweizen. And here we go.
Mm.
Go for the more aggressive pour. And
Oh, it's good.
there we go. And of course, as always, to your health and Prost.
To your health, Prost.
Oh yeah, very, very bready texture. It's a very for a 4% ABV, it's quite dense. But there again, when you include wheat in a beer, that's going to happen. And most people might be a little turned off by that. But when it comes to the taste, it's really good. I like it a lot. Wow, Anthony Ford, drink a Shiner to give your wife a Shiner. That was a good one. That's another good one. I'll grant you that one.
I think the wife will answer back and give you one as well.
Right.
Anthony asked me if I would take up vaping, and with that question, I want to hop onto another fundamentalist crazy group. Not all of them are like this, but the massive majority of charismatic Pentecostals.
Charismatic Pentecostals.
On the topic of vaping, and then why do I go to charismatic Pentecostals when he brings up vaping? First off,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I just not my thing, Anthony. I don't smoke. I probably would never do it. But the reason I make that connection is
I do
charismatic
cigars every once in a
Pentecostals.
while still, but that's a flavor thing. That's not a smoking thing.
Um,
I think
and the reason I make that connection,
I think I
the
smoke
reason
on
I make
average
that connection,
like one cigar a quarter.
and the reason I make that connection is because, as you know, Drew, Pentecostals don't want you to drink alcohol or smoke.
No, they really don't.
They're really radical. They're very, very radical.
Well,
They would look down upon me for drinking this
That's
beer
true.
right now.
They would. But I'm not going to say it was Pentecostals specifically, but I want to say it was a at least religious, if not pseudo-religious organization that really pushed for prohibition, the 20th Amendment here in the United States.
Yeah.
And also, fun fact, Amendment 21 The 21st Amendment is so far is the only U.S. constitutional amendment to be passed that's only job is to repeal an earlier amendment.
Right.
Just for again,
Of
random
course.
fun facts.
Yeah.
Like I keep saying, a veritable font of useless information, but provides some entertaining content once in a while. Hey, we've got 4 people watching, so obviously what we're saying is at least somewhat interesting.
Oh,
Either
no
that,
doubt.
or they're just looking to laugh at the half-drunk bald guy and the quarter-drunk fat guy. I mean, one of the two. Hey, if that's how you get your jollies, man, go for it. I encourage it
Definitely.
because I could use the viewership, at least in that regard. But no, anyone who's watching and has not subscribed, please subscribe. If you just flat out love me enough to do it, I actually do have a Patreon. Just search the Atheist Reformation on there. I don't really plug it that often. In fact, I think this is actually the first time I've verbally mentioned it within a video. For 2 reasons. One, I don't want to plug it very often because I don't want to come across as e-begging because I'm not trying to. And also because I forget on occasion. In all honesty, I forget that it's there. But there are some benefits. I have a few different tiers set up. So if you feel like doing it, go for it. Hey, I mean, I'm a broke college student that works full time. I could use the extra money.
And we're going to be doing a lot more very great quality shows, guys. I mean, we've got a lot of really good stuff in store for you.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and give people kind of a sneak peek into our inner workings as far as what you and I have come up with so far, and that is to hopefully once a month do a full-on liquor stream, but it's going to be themed. Every one of them will be themed, where we discuss um, one singular philosophy primarily, and what we're going to do is we're going to drink their spirit of choice, and I think my bid for that, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up the tabs I've been doing some research on my phone in my downtime, you know, in between playings of Fallout 4 and whatnot. Hey, Fallout 4 is a great game. Well, I like Fallout 3 better. I like Fallout New Vegas even more than that. But, you know what? With the amount of mods and things that are out, if you like gaming, if you like Fallout 4 has a pretty active modding community, and you can get some really interesting gameplay choices uh, out of all that at the end of the day, as far as that
Right.
goes. Now, I'm trying to find... let's see. No, not him. Not Hutchison.
It is going to be great, Anthony. When we pick a philosopher. I've got one in mind already, and it'll be a lot of fun, really, especially because I've got some liquors that I've gotten that you can only find in Germany as well.
Ooh.
So I've got some real goodies. I've got a lot of goodies, and I really, really,
I might
I've
have
got
to
to
get
share
you
with
to. I might have to ask you to FedEx me one of them so we can do that stream. The one that I think we will launch with, just because we talk so much about German beers and doing things like that, we might as well go Irish for the first philosopher.
Perfect.
We are by no means going in chronological order. Just the first one to kind of hit my fancy. Or our fancy, collective fancy in general. And the one that I'm kind of pitching right now is George Berkeley. Bishop Berkeley of Cloyne.
Right.
Because he was a very big fan of something that I'm going to finish off the beer stream with once I finish this Hefeweizen to kind of just round out the night. Because, I mean, it was finished in stout casks, so I can kind of get away with that on a beer stream, and that is Jameson
Oh,
Irish
wow, that
Whiskey
does look
Cask
good.
Mates. And so, like I said, I have Irish whiskey, so I'm going to pitch an Irish philosopher first. And his was really interesting because he his primary achievement was advancing an idea or a theory that he called. Okay, so nowadays it's called subjective idealism, but I want to say he called his immaterialism. That was the term back in his day. I don't have the Wikipedia page pulled up right now, so I'll have to look at that later to kind of give me a starting point to jump off of as far as
Right.
that goes. But as far as Pentecostals go, man, you know what? Yeah, you got some strange birds out there. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
No doubt.
one that I kind of want to bring up, and it's because I actually have some real world experience with this particular sect of Christian offshoots, and that is free holiness. I'm going to ask you now, have you ever heard of the free holiness movement?
I have not.
That's okay. Not many people have. I
I
just
have
wanted to
not.
kind of, in all honesty, I would have been completely surprised and immensely impressed if you had. They are a
I haven't.
very small movement. Um, they had a lot of influence on some individuals' lives with whom I was involved with and am still involved with to a certain extent. I won't go any further because I have not had the chance to talk with them and gain their permission to discuss their personal experiences with that group or in general.
Right.
But I will discuss mine because I've been inside a Free Holiness Church. It was in Nashville, Arkansas. And to use the age-old redneck, whoo doggy,
Wow.
they got some strange birds there.
Do they?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll tell you how strict they are. No secular music, no secular television. In fact, no television at all. No radio at all. If they have to have a cell phone for work, it's a flip phone.
Wow.
They're not allowed to have internet access. Like, they are
Wow.
actively discouraged from it. They are told to not have computers in their houses. Um, like, it's bad. They're even told to go so far as, if you are to accept a job, do not get a job in the tech industry. Do not get a job in customer service, such as a call center, because it involves the use of a computer.
Wow.
Yeah, it's out there.
Very out there.
I mean, it's so far in the outfield that I don't even think the angels in that movie could have caught that ball.
No. No. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that bad. Not even Christopher
Very.
Lloyd could make that catch.
No, that's not good at all. Wow.
Tony Danza couldn't save it.
Well, you know what I would like to bring up
Oh, please do anything.
before I close out for the evening.
Oh yeah, we have closed in on that hour and a half mark, haven't we?
I really do want to talk about one thing. I do want to talk about what I sent you a message about it, and you know very well what movement I'm talking about. The movement called Sadevacantism.
Yes, sedevacantism. Yes, you brought that up earlier.
Yeah, that is a movement outside of Catholicism, a small group of people that claim that they are more Catholic than the Pope. They depose the Pope as a heretic. They say the Pope is not a true Pope. He is a heretic. Some of them even elect their own popes. They're very, very radical. They are the type of people that will go to incredibly crazy extremes at times. They misread Scripture. They misread the Fathers. They misread the doctrines of the faith. They are a very radical group in of themselves. to me, when we talk about fundamentalism, they are one of the groups that do pop in my mind. They come to my memory right away, and they are a very dangerous cult-like group as well.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up a couple of individuals that I think are Sedevacantists and the Diamond Brothers. I know you've got history with them. Um,
They don't like you.
and also, full disclosure, uh, William here, and hopefully you don't think I'm throwing you under the bus with this one, used to have a handle called GNR Head on YouTube. Did a lot of talks with a lot of different people, including Turretin Fan. Guy's a big fan of Frank Turretin. And
Yep.
so I know he's got a history with the Diamond Brothers.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's kind of a full disclosure type thing.
Oh yeah. I've got a very long history with the Diamond Brothers and debated them a number of times. They won't debate me anymore. They don't want to have anything to do with me. Fine. I mean, really, the way I say it, I really, and I don't say this to be rude, and I'm not saying it to be arrogant.
No, of
Drew
course not.
knows what I mean, because Drew is also part of the. He does help out a whole lot with the recent theology crew over there.
I
Drew
try
does
to,
some,
mostly on tech
yeah.
support, I'm not going to lie.
Drew goes out of his way. Drew is everywhere. So recent theology, they're doing incredible work over there, and they're arranging a few debates in the future with actual scholars in the field of state of Contism, and I'll be debating that in the future,
Really?
2020.
Well,
Um,
hopefully I'll get the chance to actually jump in on those and at least provide some tech support because I'd love to get
or
some
maybe even
firsthand.
moderate one, because I'm going to be debating a few of them. There are going to be a few of them. You know, you never know. Maybe you'd be able to get to moderate one.
Who knows? You know, hey,
You never know.
if Michael let me, I'm more than happy to.
You never know. Yeah.
You know, hey, I did that one between it was you and
John
John
Loftus.
Loftus. Yeah, I mean,
Correct.
so hey, I'm the atheist. I'm an atheist. I'm supposed to be on Loftus's side, but I like to think I did a pretty to rip the Fox News tagline, even though I'm not a fan of them. I think I was a pretty fair and balanced moderator.
No doubt. You were. You definitely were.
Philosophy of the Meek and Cretins, something that Anthony Ford posted. Is that also from Bullboy's Brigade? As you were quoting earlier, be a simple man and enjoy the simple things, and thou shalt find true happiness. You know what? I can say there is quite a bit of truth in that. I won't go so far as to be fully simple in things of that nature. In just that I fully believe that every person should always and forever be seeking to broaden their horizons to the greatest degree possible. And that's in every field of study. Um, you know, you often hear the phrase tossed out, a jack of all trades and a master of none. But for most individuals, they don't realize that is only half of the phrase. And
Correct.
the full phrase is a jack of all trades and the master of none is often better than the master of one. And it's to illustrate that if you have a well-rounded factual working knowledge of as many topics as possible, you will be versed enough and be knowledgeable enough to carry on a decent and thought-provoking and professional conversation with virtually anybody you meet. And I highly encourage people to do that. I'm a law major, okay? As of right now, I'm majoring in criminal justice because they don't have a political science major. And then I'm shifting to that as soon as I get over to my last year of bachelor study. And then I'm going into law school. But I still look into things such as a little bit of chemical engineering because principles of that have a great bit of use in things such as, oh, I don't know, mixing alcoholic beverages. Um, but also, I look into things such as, pardon me, I look into things such as astrophysics and quantum physics and string theory to varying extents. Yes, they are incredibly mathematically dense topics, and Am I woefully inept when it comes to at least a few of the concepts? Oh, absolutely. But that's not going to stop me from trying.
Of course, no doubt.
And I think that everyone should always have that yearning to learn and always be asking questions. And some people are going to laugh at where I got that notion from. And of all people, it was from a comedian. And it was
Wow.
from George Carlin.
Oh,
Because it's not enough to know what's in the text. You have to be able to understand and question what's in it to
no
actually
doubt.
understand it. And if you're not questioning what you're reading, then you're just following. You're not learning.
You're right about that.
You're just accepting something whole cloth and just, you know, you might as well just hang it up. You're just going to become another regurgitator of random things.
No
And
doubt.
I also realize the irony of that statement. Since this entire stream, at least every 5 minutes or so, has had me regurgitating a random factoid. So I fully admit that to some degree I have that flaw. But I think it mostly comes from the fact that I thoroughly enjoy learning, and I'm going to study just about everything I can because it's just the world is all so interesting,
No doubt.
and there's so many
Definitely.
interesting things within it. Like hell,
Agreed.
for instance, I study evolutionary biology for no other reason than it's cool, it's interesting.
It is. It's great.
Um, I oh gosh, before we go, I have to pull up this one thing. Uh, I know this is probably a faux pas, but I'm going to pull up something from Facebook. I'm not going to share it to the stream or anything like that. I'm just going to bring up and read a couple of random points, and I'm just going to read my reply to it. Just because, in all honesty, I think by summarizing it and then just reading what I said to it will probably answer as many questions as anything anyone can actually come up with, at least to a certain extent. Um, Gosh, where is it? Ah, here we go. It wasn't that post, but it's close to it. In fact, I think if I just pull up and look at his posts within that group, I should be able to find what I'm looking for. So this guy posted this thing within this group. Ah, here we go. It's kind of a heel thing that he's trying to do. And in all honesty, I don't think he actually has this friend who asked this question. Because in all honesty, it's copied and pasted from William Lane Craig. Just going to put that out there. He says, "Hey, smart atheists, I need help. Having a conversation with a scientist buddy of mine who is a theist and deep in apologetics. And he says he enjoys playing devil's advocate, yada, yada, yada. He brings up this. He says, don't try to fool me with the all too common misuse and abuse the God of the Gaps claim. Here, that's a false allegation, although I really don't see how it is. But he claims it's not what it is. These conclusions are based upon all the evidence we do have, not based upon a lack of evidence, even though I'm just going to offer a bit of a color commentary to this right now. It completely is based upon lack of evidence. But anyway, and this is where this obvious plagiarism of William Lane Craig comes in, and I think you'll pick up on it when I get to the second paragraph, William. It's the evidence shows that there was an absolute beginning to space, time, and matter. So it's obviously reasonable to conclude that the cause of the universe must be spaceless, timeless, and immaterial. We can also show that this cause must be personal in order to choose to create, must be intelligent to design such a fine-tuned universe, and must be powerful to create out of nothing. You can play word games with the language and choose not to call this God to avoid the God of the Gaps accusation. Instead, just call it a spaceless, timeless, immaterial, personal, intelligent, powerful being. But this is exactly what theists call God. And here's where the obviation of this being plagiarized from Craig comes in. To those trying to escape the conclusions, famous cosmologist Alexander Vilenkin put it this way: it is said that an argument is what convinces reasonable men, and a proof is what it takes to convince even an unreasonable man. With the proof now in place, cosmologists can no longer hide behind the possibility of a past eternal universe. There is no escape. They have to face the problem of a cosmic beginning. And it quotes that it's from the Many Worlds in One article from Helen Wang, 2006. And he says that Vilenkin says that his famous theorem proves that even if other universes exist, there was an absolute beginning to all of them. In other words, one cannot posit a multiverse, as atheists often do, to avoid an absolute beginning. Vilenkin's theorem shows there was an absolute beginning regardless of the initial physical states of the universe. So, yeah, completely ripped from William Lane Craig. Like,
Almost word for word there. Almost word for word.
No, I will say it is word for word.
Yep.
I haven't actually spent the time to go and search it out, but I'm willing to bet if I could go through and pull a transcript from his debates, I could find this exact wording from start to finish, from the to universe, and it would be verbatim.
I agree.
However, my reply is simply thus. I haven't even read the replies to me yet. It's, first thing, your friend, quote unquote, is doing nothing more than copy-pasting William Lane Craig. It is blatant plagiarism. Secondly, no, we have not determined an absolute beginning to space, time, and matter. There are several issues with that statement. The first one is, it's space-time. One word, not space and time. They are one entity, not two. Secondly, not an absolute beginning, it is just a point of inflation that seemingly originates from a point of singularity, which is really just where our mathematics break down, and it doesn't allow us to go any further. So at this point, you can essentially ignore the rest of the plagiarized argument, because the rest really doesn't follow, because it just appears to be a misunderstanding from Vilenkin's perspective. Like, it honestly seems like he misunderstands that whole space-time thing, which is really weird considering he's supposed to be a cosmologist. So I haven't done any background research into Alexander Vilenkin.
Yeah, neither have I.
If anyone has, please correct me if I'm wrong. If he is actually making those blatant statements and seemingly conflating space and time as two separate entities, I don't see how he would be a credentialed cosmologist.
Did my thing go dark?
No, I still see your camera feed. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I think my battery's low. I don't know what's going on.
I thought you had your charger for this one.
Oh, goodness. I should have.
Well, hopefully I don't lose you, but I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of what I said.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that this is clear one of Craig's debates, because one of his interlocutors in debate was an astrophysicist, and he ripped everything about this portion of the argument to shreds. I cannot remember off the top of my head who it was he was debating.
And this was taken directly from his website, right?
I'm almost certain it was. If it wasn't from his website, it was from his oh gosh, it looks like we've lost William, but I'm going to keep talking at least for now. Gosh. So we may have lost camera feed at least for the time being, but I'm going to go ahead and keep talking at least for now. I'm going to see if I can bring my camera into this real quick, and we'll finish this out and then probably close everything out. So apologies, everyone, for the technical difficulty. And we'll see what we can do here. Actually, you know what? To kind of hold things off, I'm going to go ahead and throw up something a little bit different. And see what we can get going here. Hopefully everyone can still hear me for now. Trying to get things going for y'all. Okay, so I will be right back. I apologize, guys. Sorry, everybody, about that. Let's see. So, going into and looking at everything here, I'm going to try and get William back on and see what we can do. But until then, I'm going to throw up a Be Right Back screen. I do apologize to everyone sincerely, and I am trying to get this resolved as quickly as possible. But we will get this taken care of. And here we go. Just enjoy those soothing bass tones until I get back.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, everybody, I sincerely apologize for that wait. It seems as though we are still having some technical difficulties with William, so we're going to go ahead and close out the show this evening. It was awesome having William on. I do apologize that we had those technical issues, and we will hope to not have those again next stream. I'm going to get on him about, keeping a charger plugged into his phone. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. Anyways, technical issues aside, Anthony Ford, it's awesome having you on and continuing to watch and continuing to support the channel. I really appreciate it. I do see now the comment that says we can hear, so I'm sorry about that. I should have just kept talking instead of just reverting to my be right back graphic and whatnot, so hopefully that won't be an issue next time and we won't have to do that next time. I'm going to end the night out with a tiny bit of Jameson Irish whiskey, which I have already poured a little bit into this glass. So, for anyone who's Irish or anyone who may ever watch who's Irish, Slanja. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Oh yeah, that is definitely a good whiskey. I don't often partake of Irish whiskeys, but when it comes to Jameson, absolutely, I will partake of this wonderfully fine spirit. Anyways, for those of you watching, please support the channel. Give us a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I sincerely hope and appreciate any Patreon donations that may come my way. Know that I greatly appreciate them, and for every single tier, I do have rewards in place for them. Once I start getting a few more in, I will become more active on the Discord channel. And you know what? We may start up another channel at some point in a few thousand subscribers on, say, just random gaming stuff. Who knows? But we'll do an Ask Me Anything at least, 1 to 10,000 subscribers, somewhere in there. Again, I know I've said it already, but Anthony Ford, thank you for continuing to support the stream and continuing to comment every single time. I love it. Will loves it. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one, which should hopefully happen in a couple of weeks. If we keep with what the actual schedule is supposed to be, it should be on the 28th. If not, we will shoot for the 29th. But I'm really hoping for the 28th here. Anyways, to any and everybody, stay excellent and just be awesome to each other. And thank you again for tuning in to the Atheist Reformation. To check out Will Albrecht stuff, again, that website is www.patristicpillars.com. Thank you again for watching the Atheist Reformation. Have a great evening, and good night and good luck to everybody.